Hey, this is Connie from Prosperity Finance, sharing the best financial tips so that you can be more successful with achieving your financial goals. Recently, I heard clients complain about the quality of the listing in the market right now. They say, it's not what I want, and if there's a good one, it's always been sold really quickly. So people start thinking about building a property as opposed to purchasing an existing property. In this session, I'm going to share with you, there are 3 types of building new properties, and each one has its own pros and cons. Number 1, buying off plan. So buying off plan means you pay a small deposit, normally between 5 to 10%, and you only pay the remaining amount when the construction is completed. Normally, this kind of project lasts a year to 2 years. The benefit of this option is that you don't really have to do a lot of work. You just pay deposit and then it's a waiting game. The downside, however, is the uncertainty, because you can't really 100% sure that you can borrow a sufficient amount by the time it's ready for settlements, because your situation may change and the lending policy may change. So it's actually out of your control. So this is probably the biggest risk with off-plan. But you could save a bit of money by buying earlier. And also there's little you need to manage yourself. Number 2 is purchase a piece of land first, and then engage an architect and building company to build for you. With this approach, the biggest advantage is that you can find a piece of land in the location you desire. Now, a lot of new build actually quite far from the city, and with the traffic issue in Auckland, you're probably looking to buy a property within 20k from the city and help you save a lot of time every day. So that's probably the biggest advantage. And also you can actually choose the design you want. With a new build, the builder already built the property and you buy that new property. It's good, but they all look the same, right? Because they don't have the time to design, have a different design for different property. So it's all kind of bulk order, factory kind of process. Whereas buying one piece of land and engage your own architects and building company actually give you personalized design. So that's definitely a big plus. I guess the biggest disadvantage would be, again, uncertainty and a lot of work. Well, you have to find your own architects, and you probably need to sit in the meeting with the council people to discuss some of the issues they may have. So it could cause you a lot of headaches and stress. And later, you have to engage with a building company. So there's a lot of time involved with this. And if you have a little knowledge, or the plan is very difficult to implement, you probably find, it's very stressful. And finally, there's another downside is that, because you can't decide the final plan at the time you purchase the land, obviously there is a cost uncertainty. Therefore, the amount of lending required is also unknown. So it has more uncertainty compared to the first option, buying off plan. But hey, you got to weigh up the pros and cons. Finally is the most common one. You engage a really reputable building company like a GG Garden. They supply a piece of land and then they build for you. And normally the contract is either turnkey, which means hand over you the key at the end. You don't have to worry about anything. They include everything. And there's another type called fixed price contract, which means they provide everything that's required for living, but may not include small things like letterbox or landscaping, etc. With this kind of approach, the biggest advantage is that, the quality is ensured. And normally, those company are master builder company. So, they actually provide the quality guarantee. And they're normally quite fast because they have a big team behind them. And the bank actually, quite they are quite in terms of financial approval, they're quite comfortable with those builders. The downside of that is, as I mentioned in the last option, normally these kind of sections are in a kind of far away location, because they normally buy in bulk. They buy 100 lots in one area, so you probably has to compromise the location. But hey, again, you have to weigh up the pros and cons. So in this session, I shared with you about 3 options if you consider building a new property as opposed to buying. Thanks for watching. If you find this useful, please feel free to subscribe our YouTube channel. And in the next session, we're going to share with you in terms of finance, what is the difference between building a property versus buying existing property in terms of finance requirements. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.